Hi, Roy. It's so nice to have you on the show. How's it going, Roy?
It's going well. It's going well. I had a great Christmas with my family,
Hmm,
and I'm looking forward to a great 2025.
I tell you, man. And we are going to be more productive than we are in this year in 2025. I believe so. Beautiful. I had a great Christmas too. Thanks again. Okay, Roy. You see, I say this often, and I say it often because I feel like it is important. I love to thank my guest for two things, all right? Firstly, Roy, I want to thank you for investing in yourself. You see, Roy, you are on this platform currently because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Roy, some months back, I was on this particular road, and just by the roadside, there's this tall mango tree that didn't catch my attention. It didn't catch my attention at all. Why? Because it's got no mangoes on it and it looks so dry and. So I just walked past it. I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Roy, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, something changed. You see, the mango tree caught my attention from a distance. And instantly, Roy, I got the urge to move closer to have a good look. Then when I got closer, man, it wowed me because this time around the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it and it looks so beautiful. And not just mangoes, but ripe mangoes. And it looks so beautiful and attractive. I just kept on staring at the tree and all. The point is the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing person you are today, right? That alone has
Mm.
made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the message from me. Hey man, you've got to be on the show. And thank you so much, right, for being this amazing person. Because, while I was reading a little bit about you, I was excited about the things I saw in your
Mm.
philosophy, in your ideologies, and how impactful your work is. So thank you so very much for dedicating time, energy, and resources to becoming this amazing person. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing I could do about it. So thank you so very much, Roy. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, man. uh,
You're very welcome, and I love the tree analogy. That's a beautiful analogy.
Thank you. So let's get to it, right? You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. Because I believe in order for one to move from a terrible situation to a beautiful one, right, I believe it takes the application of knowledge. Not just knowledge, but the application of it. And you see, ever
Hmm.
since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. Now, the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Roy on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Roy, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there, how to do this and how to do that. So, these folks trust me for quality information. And I am totally convinced, Roy, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. We are just so curious right now. We want to know how you got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, all right. Over to you.
Thank you so much, and I love the pursuit of knowledge. I think we really grow in a way that's so important throughout life as long as we pursue that. So my background is for 30 years, I have been in the communications, public relations, and marketing business, both as a consultant and then as a corporate employee in a couple of different roles. I've spent that time really diving into a variety of important ideas, but most importantly, I've spent a lot of time unpacking and really looking at the concept of trust. That journey for me began when I was a partner at a PR firm. and really wanted to help my clients understand the idea that the outcome of your communication, the outcome of any effort you make to communicate with somebody should be to increase the level of trust in that relationship. And that journey really began to unpack a lot of other benefits, a lot of other opportunities. And as I explored and really tried to break trust down into smaller, actionable ideas, more and more benefits came in a variety of different ways. And when I went to work for Advent Health in 2016, I partnered with physician Dr. Omara Mansfield and the editing and education team at Advent Health, and we developed what we now call the Trust Transformation, which is an evidence-based training program designed to help people improve the results in their life, both personally and professionally, by improving the relationships they have with the focus and intent of building trust in those relationships, beginning with themselves. Because if we don't trust ourselves first and live to a higher standard for building trust, then we can't expect that from others. And we can't expect others to follow along if we're not willing to take that lead in our own lives. And so about 2 years ago now, I left the hospital system and really embarked on this career, which now I'm an executive coach, trainer, consultant, and counselor for people, and helping them live at that higher level, live at that better life, and improve their performance and really their lives personally as well through that experience.
Amazing, right? I love that. And you see, I love to listen to folks who are passionate about solving problems. And this particular one, yeah, I tell you, this particular one is actually a very important one, even to me. Because you see, due to my experiences with friendships and, even families and folks breaking the trust I had in them and all of those things, it then shaped my perspective as to relating with people. And now that part where you mentioned that you cannot, you should not expect trust from others if you do not trust yourself. And that's so correct, right? Because just like while I was talking to someone some days back, I said people find it difficult to love others because they do not love themselves. Then I said, you
Yes.
cannot give what you don't have. And that's just what you said also. So it affects folks too from taking necessary steps because they don't believe what they came up with can work. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think I'm right. I don't think they want to listen to me. So according to you now, if you don't trust yourself first, you shouldn't expect it from others. So now it's getting really interesting. I love that. Okay. So that's going to lead to the first question. Can you talk to us about trust itself? How does trust work? Can you talk to us about that?
You bet. You bet. Trust is one of those words that oftentimes just is looked at and thrown around as one idea, right? One big, sometimes scary word. How do we achieve it and what does it do? The simple way to look at it is this, that trust is first built on two things, emotion and experience. So there are relationships that we have that we entered into that have a high degree of emotion attached to why we trust somebody. It might be family, close friends, or otherwise, where there's just this real connection that we make with them. But the other contributing factor to trust is experience. So over time, the engagements that we have with people, how we perform in our job, the things that we do for people, the consistency that we show, all of those other things contribute to the trust that people have in us. And to even make it more actionable, we take a look at 4 really ideas within those 2 drivers that make trust transformational in our lives. They're the qualities that people look for, the characteristics. And it begins with trustworthiness. That's the core. That's that idea we talked about earlier about trusting yourself. It's not that you're trusted, it's congratulations, you now have the right to be trusted because you're trustworthy. The second attribute that we look at that's more along the emotion line is authenticity, having a real and meaningful relationship with someone. And there are pieces for each of these. So for instance, with trustworthiness, it begins with integrity. It also has a lot to do with your attitude, how you approach people, the focus that you give to people and to the work that you're asked to do. And on the authenticity side, those are the attributes within that are things like how you show respect. Can you be candid in that relationship? And then are you consistent in the things that you do? Along the experiential line, we find the attribute of, being consistent, having that consistent, reliable performance, so you're dependable. You do the things that you say you're going to do. You get that job done. You deliver on time. And then the last of the attributes that define trust in the way we're looking at it is influence. And that's really the gift of trust. When people trust you, they've given you a sense of influence, whether you're a leader in an organization or even in a relationship. When people trust you, you influence that relationship. And people of influence, they have attributes like courage to both engage and to finish in what they do. And they're committed to the actions that they take. And they're consistent in the things that they do. And so looking at trust now through a lens that gives you all of these attributes and all of these ideas within those attributes, where you can now perhaps even diagnose where trust has gone wrong or look for the best opportunity to build trust with somebody you've just met. In our experience now over the last, for me, it's been 15 years in the iteration of the program today. It's been over the last 7 or 8 years. What we've seen is that people can now take action and be intentional about building trust in a unique way that lets them really live at that higher level and live up to that higher standard for trust.
Amazing. I got that. Okay, let's look at it from your own lens or your organization's lens. How do you define trust within your organization, and why is it important or essential for success? Can you talk to us about that?
You bet. I would say that I define it as most people do. It's the assured reliance that we have in somebody or an organization, right? That we know that they're going to do or deliver the things that they say they're going to do or deliver. I trust that you're going to do that. But it can also, when we look at it at a personal level, you mentioned earlier overcoming traumatic situations and things of that level. I'd been working on this for over 10 years when I had my own traumatic event occur in my life. And I suffered what's called an acute aortic dissection. And if for listeners, that's not a heart attack. It's not a blockage issue within the heart. Literally, my heart split open across and it had the whole upper arch of my aorta had to be replaced. It was 6 hours of surgery, a month in the hospital, 6 months out of work. And when you go through a situation like this that has a 2 to 5% survival rate, and now you have to confront living your life at a different place and going through that recovery, going through the rehab, going through all those steps, you have to learn to trust yourself differently. So my experience going through that, I had to double down on everything that I had learned or taught over the last 10 years. And I'll tell you, when you go through it, you find yourself confronting things in your life where you fall short, where you may not be living up to the things and the standards that even you have expected to be there. So what I encourage people to do is to be proactive in that trust, to really be honest with yourself as you go through the process of asking, am I living to the highest level of integrity in my life? Is my attitude right? Because when I go back and look at why I went through that situation, there were no signs. There wasn't I didn't have anything going on in my life that on the outside would have contributed to that. In retrospect, I had a little bit of high blood pressure, but I really have come to the place in my life where I believe it was the stress I had put myself under. It was some of the expectations and within my own attitude that I just let things fester up to a place where all of those outside influences I was allowing to impact my physical, my emotional, and my spiritual life. And it all came to a head through that terrible situation that I had to then live with and overcome. But in retrospect, probably the best thing that ever happened to me, to make me confront those things, to give me a second chance, and now to allow me to share the message of the importance, the value, and the impact that trust has in our lives.
very inspiring. And I've got to say this, Roy, you're very strong, and thank God for helping you throughout the journey. I tell you, man, you're a very strong man, and that's really inspiring. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so we have one more question to go, and this has a lot to do with some ingredients for authentic relationship. In this part of the world, we take tea often, and
Mm,
that's because of the influence of the British, all right? And when we want to make tea, the ingredients to make it, beverages and milk and sugar and water and stuff like that to make the tea. So now, what are the ingredients, okay, for
mm.
an authentic relationship? Can you talk to us about it?
Yeah, I love that question. So, authentic relationships first begin with the idea of clarity and even purpose, right? So, we have relationships at home and at work. Both are equally important. Both are going to have challenges to them and opportunities, but we have to have clarity both in terms of what our role is in those relationships. So, the role that I would have, or the intimacy or the relationship that I have with my wife, is different from people that I work with, right? But I have to pour into them with a level of intimacy and commitment that says that they're important to me. So clarity of role, clarity of purpose is comes into play when we want to create an authentic relationship. Second is respect. We give respect. And what that simply means is we can have arguments, we can have disagreements, we can even agree to disagree about certain things, but I should always prioritize the dignity of that other person, whether we're debating something or arguing about something or disagreeing about something. And so the respect supersedes any other commitment that I've made in terms of engaging with that person on a particular issue. Authentic relationships also have a great sense of candor to them, right? So if we respect each other, if we're giving each other that level of respect, then we can have candor. So I could speak honestly to you. If you have a problem, I can come to you and say, "Hey, listen, you really need to work on this. It's creating a situation with the staff or with the team." So I should be able to confront you that way. And in those relationships as well, we really need to be about forgiveness. And when I talk about forgiveness in the sense of teaching this course or working with a client or the book that I just released, I want people to understand it. It's not the spiritual, it's the functional part of forgiveness. It's the idea that I'm going to learn a lesson when I'm mistreated or somebody does wrong in this situation, but I'm not going to let that be a heavy burden that I carry with me for the rest of my life. I'm going to let it go and I'm going to keep moving forward. So those are a handful of the 6 ingredients that we talk about with the authentic relationships and how they really function to help us be more engaged, to be more present. Presence is a big one as well within that framework. We in a day and age where we're doing so many things virtually, you've got to be intentional and schedule time to be with people, both at home and at work.
That's right. I got that. Thank you for that. That was a great response. Okay, so to bring this to an end, Roy, what would you like to leave the audience with? Like a final thought. And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, get your book, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
I appreciate that. I would say simply build trust first. When you're engaging in relationships, when you're meeting people for the first time, don't assume that it's there. That's the biggest mistake people make, is to assume I'm a good person, they'll trust me. Be focused, be intentional, build trust first. And if people want to find me, they can find me at roywreid.com. There's information on the book there. The book can be bought anywhere at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever books are sold. And I would love to talk to more people about this important message.
A very important one. Thank you so much. So that's going to be the end of the show, Roy. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this amazing stuff with us, man. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was great.